Rusborough House is situated near the Blessington Lakes in County Wicklow. It is said to be the largest house in Ireland. The front measures 210 metres. The house was built between 1741 and 1755. The inside contains ornate plasterwork on the ceiling by the Laffercini brothers. Rusborough is an example of Palladian architecture. It was designed by Richard Cassels for Joseph Leeson. It cost $30,000 to rise the foundations of the house. It is hand-built using Wicklow granite. No machinery was used in the foundation of the building. The Leeson family originated in Northamptonshire and moved to Ireland in the second half of the 17th century. Joseph Leeson became Earl of Milltown in 1763. The house then passed to a nephew, Sir Edmund Turton. When he died, the house was sold to the Daly family in 1931. Sir Alfred and Lady Byte bought Rusborough in 1952 to house their art collection and established the Alfred Byte Foundation in 1976 to manage the property. Lady Byte still lived in the house until her death in 2005. The Bytes' art collection contains a number of famous and extremely valuable paintings, including Vermeer, Goya, and Gainsborough. These paintings are now housed in the National Gallery. Unfortunately, Rusborough has been associated with a number of art thefts since Sir Alfred Byte brought his art collection to Rusborough in the 1950s. Since Rusborough was opened to the public in 1978, over 1 million people have visited Rusborough to view the house. There have been 4 art thefts over the years. In 1974, some 12 paintings were stolen when Sir Alfred and Lady Byte were assaulted. The raid was undertaken by elements of the IRA. All of the paintings were later recovered in court. In 1986, there was a further burglary involving Dublin-based criminals. 18 paintings were stolen, and all but 2 were recovered over the years. And finally, in 2001 and 2002, there were further art thefts involving fewer and yet less valuable paintings. They have all been recovered. Today, the most valuable of Byte's paintings are secure in the National Gallery of Ireland. Combined with the stunning architecture and magnificent setting of Rusborough, overlooking the Blessington Lakes and Wicklow Mountains, visitors to the house comment how beautifully it is maintained and how lavishly furnished. Fine furniture, tapestries, carpets, porcelain and silver readily complement the numerous Byte paintings that remain in Rusborough to this day.
Ballyknockan is a small village in County Wicklow. It is known as the Granite Village. The lake which surrounds Ballyknockan was formed in the late 1930s when the village of Balnahown was flooded and the Poulafuka Reservoir was formed. To this day you can still see ruins of the houses and farmlands that were in the village of Balnahown. The village grew around the craft of stone cutting, and this is reflected in many buildings in the area. The tradition of stone cutting has still carried on, but on a much smaller scale than during the famine period, when over 400 people were directly involved with the quarries, and the village was known as the Granite City. The village has a rich history based on the granite quarried for almost 2 centuries, and can be seen all around in the farmhouses and cottages of stone. Ballyknockan is the rockery in the Garden of Ireland. The granite quarries have existed since the early 19th century. Ballyknockan is Ballion Cnocoin in Irish, meaning the village of the hills. The village retains an air of old world remoteness, unique charm and scenic beauty to rival anywhere in Ireland. Ballynacken was the setting for a lot of films such as Captain Boycott, Shake Hands with the Devil, The Lilac Bus, Widow's Peak and P.S. I Love You. All the monuments can still be seen in Ballynacken today, which show off the magnificent stonework. Music has played a big part in Ballynacken from the early years. Leading on from the Ballynacken Accordion Band, many upcoming bands have emerged from the village.
Castletown House was built in 1722. It is Ireland's largest and earliest Palladian-style house. Up until 1965, it was owned by the descendants of William Connolly. William Connolly was the first owner of Castletown House. He was Ireland's wealthiest commoner at the time. Due to these facts, Castletown has a long and colourful history.
On a cold winter's day, 250 years ago, Tom Connolly, who is said to have been a wicked man, returned home from hunting, accompanied by a stranger. Tom was to be joined by the others later, so he presumed that this man was with the hunt. That evening, after supper, the man fell asleep in an armchair. Connolly ordered his servants to make him more comfortable and remove his boots. To the horror of all present, the servant revealed 2 cloven feet. The stranger was soon surrounded by a thick yellow flame. Suddenly the man and flame vanished through the fireplace, leaving a large crack which can still be seen to this day. Is it a coincidence this legend is attached to a house built by a Hellfire member? Or do you believe that when Tom Connolly left to hunt that morning, promising that he would get the fox's brush or ride home alongside the devil, his call was heard, and that this is exactly what happened? The laughter of this man, who was dressed in a long grey coat, is said to still be heard in the house today.
St. Nicholas of Myra Church dates back to 1815. The church is decorated with many interesting items, including a memorial tablet to Conan Whittle, which was erected by a firm called Pearce & Sharp in 1885. This was Patrick Pearce's father, so it's possible that he visited Dunlavin as a young boy when the work was being carried out. St. Nicholas Church of Ireland is located on Stephen Street in Dunlavin. It's the Protestant Church of Dunlavin and has a small graveyard. According to local people, the graveyard is located on what was once called Boggy Meadow. The cemetery opened in 1936, but was so neglected that all the headstones were unreadable except for one. This was before the graveyard was done up, and it remains in good condition to this day. Dunlavin or Dunlavin is an Irish village in West Wicklow. It was established in the Bronze Age by the Celts. Although Dunlavin is a peaceful village today, over the years it has seen many tragic events. Due to unequal divisions of wealth caused by the penal laws, the United Irishmen moved to Dunlavin in the 1790s. During the 1798 rebellion, Dunlavin saw 36 men executed on the fair green of Dunlavin after being imprisoned in the market house. From 1845 to 1850, the famine hit, causing Dunlavin village to lose 25% of its inhabitants. Dunlavin also lost many young men in later years to World War I and the War of Independence. It was affected by the Civil War as well, when brothers turned against each other. Emigration continued through the Hungry 30s, the years of the emergency in the 1940s and the stagnant 50s. The 1960s saw the beginning of better times, and our overall standard of living is the highest that it's ever been. The GAA Club was founded in 1890. It has many members and it is a major part of the local community. The market house was built in 1743. When Dunlavin became a market town in 1661, it was built to be a place to sell vegetables and animals. After the 1798 rebellion, it became the local fire station. Ironically, 10 years later, it caught fire. The market house was restored in the 1970s and is now a library. St. Nicholas Primary School was built in 1952. When it was first built, it consisted only of 2 rooms. Nowadays, it has been renovated to have many classrooms, a hall, 3 basketball courts, 4 football pitches, and a new soloist community. The Jonathan Swift School was named after a writer in the 17th century. However, it was originally called the Church of Ireland Primary School due to its Protestant teachings. It was renamed after the school's association with Jonathan Swift. Today, it is a small school with only 2 teachers. St. Kevin's Community College opened its doors in September 1966. It was quite small at first, but in 2008 the school got a new extension which included a new gym, basketball courts, a canteen and additional classrooms. The school provides many extracurricular activities, although it is mainly focused on academics.
Hollywood is historically known as Killing, which means Kevin's Little Church. It's a small village in County Wicklow. It has a big association with St. Kevin. Many pilgrims pass through following in St. Kevin's footsteps on their way to Glendalough. Although this practice ceased in the early 1900s, St. Kevin's Way, which is a 30 pilgrim path, also begins at Hollywood and leads to Glendalough. It is a good way to enjoy part of Wicklow Mountains National Park.
How long have you lived in Hollywood?
I have lived in Hollywood all my life. I moved away 4 years ago and I'm back now since September, and it's nice to be back because it's a great little community.
Did you go to primary school in Hollywood?
I did indeed. It was a smaller school then. There was only 5 teachers, 5 classrooms, and now I believe there's 9 classrooms and there's a teaching staff of around 11.
Have you been to the Hollywood Fair?
I've never been to the Hollywood Fair. It's been ran for 2 years now, I think, but I've never got back to go to it in time, but family have, and there's always great things to say, great publicity about it, and I think that I see looks brilliant now, so hopefully I get to go see it next year.
Do you know a lot about Hollywood?
Not a great deal. There are 100 residents in the village itself, I think 500 in the greater community, but it's a great little village. It's Hollywood it was originally Holywood, and then it was changed to Hollywood. A local resident who used to own the post office in Hollywood, he went over to America and came back then and changed it from Hollywood to Hollywood. There was films shot in it over time. It was King Arthur and Michael Collins all had parts shot in Hollywood, and it's a great little community. It's a great sporting community and it's a great field to go to, and also it's the only cul-de-sac village in Ireland. I think that kind of everything I know about Hollywood, but it's a great little community.
Thank you.
The number of
movies have been filmed in the area of Hollywood. In 1955, the major film Michael Collins starring Liam Neeson and Julia Roberts was partially filmed here and was a great success. Hollywood's rugged and wild landscape was also used for the filming of King Arthur and Reign of Fire. In 1998, Meryl Streep was in Hollywood while Dancing at Lunacy was being filmed. This was directed by Pat O'Connor and was also a great success.
Glendalough, Valley of the Two Lakes, was formed during the Ice Age around 20,000 years ago. The two lakes in the valley were created after the glacier melted. Mining has taken place in Glendalough from the 1790s until 1957, when the mines were eventually closed. The mines were first created after Thomas Weaver discovered a rich lead deposit in the valley. In the early to mid 1800s, the mine saw a flood of new investment, which was used to modernise the mines. The average life expectancy of a miner for this time was 42 years. The 1880s saw a major decline in the fortunes of the Mining Company of Ireland, which experienced losses over several years. The lead was running out in the areas being worked, and the world prices for lead were in decline. Employment fell dramatically, and many of the most experienced miners had emigrated to England and America. The Mining Company of Ireland put the mines up for sale in 1888. The mines changed hands once again when the Mining Company of Ireland sold them to the Wynne family in 1890. The Wynnes were an Irish family with previous mining experience in the Avoca and Glenmalure mines. This operation didn't run too smoothly, however. After a few years, mining came to a halt due to problems with flooding and lack of machinery. Needing cash to develop the underground workings in 1913, the Wynnes set up a water plant in the Glendalough Valley to treat the waste from the mines in both Glendassan Valley and Van Diemen's Land. The waste was transported on a tramway loaded by hand onto a crusher by a mainly female workforce. The crushing work continued until 1925. The demand for lead during the first years of the First World War, 1914 to 1918, brought the Glendalough mines to the attention of the Ministry of Munitions in London, which granted aid to the Wynnes to reopen Foxrock mines in Glendassan. Government financial support was withdrawn at the end of the war, funds dried up, and so did the mining. For over 20 years there was no mining until St Kevin's lead and zinc mine was set up by J.B. Wynne along with other investors in 1948. A workforce of 80 operated for 9 years. They were divided into two main groups, with 55 men employed underground and 25 men employed in the processing plant and on compressors. Lack of money continued to be a problem. While enough ore was found, the company did not have the technology to process it. A Canadian mine company leased the mines from the Wynnes in 1956. The Canadian Mining Company, which had taken over the mines in 1956, was not successful in locating the expected amount of lead, and this, along with the fatal accident which occurred in January of 1957, was the main reason the mines finally closed in June of that year.
Japanese Gardens. The Irish National Stud's Japanese Gardens are renowned throughout the world as the finest of their kind in Europe. They also provide comfort to the soul, achieving exactly the objective that was set out when the gardens were created between 1906 and 1910. Devised by Colonel William Hall Walker, a wealthy Scotsman from the famous brewing family. The gardens were laid out by Japanese master, horticulturist Tasa Ada and his son Minoru. Their aim was through trees, plants, flowers, lawns, rocks and water to symbolise the life of man. That plan was executed to perfection, and Ada's legacy is now admired by 150,000 visitors who soak up the peace of the gardens every year. Among the most loved of all Ireland's gardens, the Irish National Stud's Japanese Gardens are a feast for the eye and ear, with the sight and sound of trickling streams perfectly complementing the greenery and vivid colours that provide a tranquil backdrop to the beautiful bridge of life and tea house. The Japanese Gardens are a place of contemplation, meditation and reflection. Since they were first enjoyed more than 100 years ago, they have never failed to please.